Good afternoon, guys. Today we're going to talk about a concept I discuss a lot with clients and with students in Codependency Confidence, my one-on-one private clients. It's this idea of not feeling like we're not enough. Now, if we've come from an experience, either a system, a family, a religion, a society that values us in a particular way, then we're going to end up feeling inadequate. We're going to end up feeling like we're not enough, that we can't really measure up, and that we have to constantly prove ourselves. And this kind of system is what I call the consumer supply relationship. And it is one of the primary reasons why we don't feel like we're enough. And it breaks down to two specific events. I call them reasons in the description. Namely, this breaks down to what's really going on with our value. Now, value is something I preach a lot on. I talk a lot, I teach on a lot, because it's that important. It's very important for us to understand our relationship to our value and to the neglect and trauma we've experienced in our lives. That's critical to our healing. If we're really going to move beyond shame, we're going to move beyond insecurity, we're going to move beyond the dependence on someone else's approval, we have to understand what's been going on with our value. What have we been conditioned to believe about value? How have we experienced value? And how we've actually been neglected in our value. And we need to understand the two types of value that really play a role in our lives, that bring us confidence, that bring us peace of mind, or bring us the terror of insecurity and the feeling of inadequacy. So I've got some notes up. I'm going to pull them up so I make sure I'm on target for you guys. All right. So these two reasons, there are two reasons specifically why you don't feel enough. And it breaks down to these two things. You didn't receive positive appreciation for your existence, and you did not receive positive appreciation for your effort. So let's kind of tie this together, okay? So a moment ago, I mentioned this idea of a consumer supply relationship. Consumer supply relationships rely on one factor. It's called the transaction. The transaction is what earns the supplier the approval of the consumer, okay? And in narcissistic systems, that's how it works. If we're the supplier, we're the codependent, we're the people pleaser, we're the one that feels inadequate or insecure, we're chasing after the approval of the consumer. And once we get that approval, suddenly we feel valuable. That's the transaction that's going on. And this is about appreciation for our effort. It's about making them feel better. If our relationships have been largely based around this idea of a transaction or being praised or valued for your effort, for what you're helping them feel, you're going to feel inadequate. You're going to feel inadequate as a person. You're going to feel inadequate emotionally. You're going to wonder if you're worth knowing, loving, or keeping. You're going to struggle to know your own value because you're not receiving what's called positive reflection for your existence. So let's talk about that, this thing called positive appreciation for your existence or positive reflection. This idea is that when we are loved and cared for who we are, then people want to be around us because we exist. And we do this all the time. This is something very, very natural to us because if we come from an empathetic point of view, we want people, we want connection, we want to feel close to a person, place, or thing emotionally. And we do this automatically with pets. We do it with children. We want them, we like them. We like who they are. We like the pet because it exists. Sometimes it annoys us because its efforts, its actions, might grate on us or cross a boundary or just irritate us in that moment. But fundamentally, we appreciate the existence of the pet. That's valuing the existence of someone. That's positive appreciation for the existence of something. But if we're not experiencing that as a person from our significant other, from our parents, from our family, from our social network, we're going to wonder if we're worth it. We're going to wonder if we're worth keeping. Are we worth being loved? Do we matter? Because that's what we're honestly seeking, is connection with another human being. To be seen, to be known, and to be loved that way. And if we're not getting that, we're likely dealing with the other kind of relationship, which is that transactional or consumer supply relationship I mentioned. This is where you're appreciated for your effort. So these are the two reasons why you struggle to know if you're enough, because you haven't received positive appreciation for who you are from the people that matter in your life. You've been valued for what you do, which makes you question if you're really worth it. And it also puts you into this huge state of perfectionism, where you're constantly like, well, if I don't do what they want, will they love me? Will they keep me? I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to upset them. Which really translates to, I don't want to lose the connection I feel I have with them when I get their approval. This is why it's so terrifying for people who've been dealing with codependency, dealing with being a people pleaser, dealing with narcissistic abuse, to really step out and advocate for themselves. Because if that's you, it makes sense why you're terrified, because your sense of value is tied to that person's approval, because that's all you've known. And so if you rock the boat, they withdraw their approval, your sense of value plummets. It's like, oh God, I don't know if I exist. I don't know if I'm real. I don't know if I'm worth it. And that's all because you haven't received positive appreciation for your existence. You've only received appreciation for your action, for that transaction or effort that made them feel better. And this convinced you that your value is attached to your output. I hope this is making sense, because in my mind I can see it's a little jumbled. Sometimes I don't really get my thoughts out in a linear way that really makes sense. So if this is making sense, let me know, guys. Just share below in the comments below. So fundamentally, we need two things in order to feel whole as a person and to feel like we have something to contribute. We need to be valued for our existence. That's our beingness. This means being valued for our presence, for the fact that we're here. Okay? So we go back to, hey, it's like valuing the pet or valuing a child. We're grateful they exist. Or a friend, for instance. We value our friends. We're grateful that they exist, that they're there in our lives. They don't really have to be doing anything to be valuable. We value them because they are. Okay? So that's the value of existence. We also have to value ourselves that way. We need to stop valuing ourselves on what we do and start valuing ourselves in that we be, that we exist, right? Now, we need the second type of value too, the value for effort. This is the transactional effort. This is an important place, because this typically shows up in, like, it should not exist dominantly in romantic or friendship-based or familial family relationships. It should not exist in those. Those are connection-centered relationships, right? Connection means we value each other for who we are and we care about how we feel. But if we're dealing with a transactional, or what could also be called a utility-based relationship, that would be like a work-based relationship, or your relationship with the electric company, or the gas company, or your landlord, or the bank. This is where it makes sense to have confidence in how we do things. This is where we have confidence in our skills and how we relate and how we execute things. So, for instance, like for me, I'm a mentor. So I have a high degree of confidence in my skills to help people overcome and heal from codependency and actually rediscover their happiness, go on to live lives that they want to live. That's part of the transactional value of my being, because that is partly how I contribute to you guys. And then if you're like, yeah, I trust you, I think you can help me, then we'll create an agreement, and that will be our business transaction. But a lot of times people don't hire me because they don't know me, so they don't value my existence. But when they get to know me and they're like, oh, I really click with you, I like what you stand for, I like what you do, that's when they take that action to like hire me or work with me, because they value my existence and they trust in my effort and the value of my output. So it takes both for us to feel really rounded and capable in our lives. But dominantly, We need to build our confidence and our sense of value, our sense of worth from the existence first. This means we're appreciated and recognized. We're seen for the person we be. And this includes our qualities like our sense of humor, our energy, the energy we bring to things, the quirks that we have. That's one of the things I've noticed a lot as I've healed from my own narcissistic abuse and my own codependency, is that healthy people appreciate the quirks of another human being. They like that intricacy, that depth that people bring to it. It's very intimate for them. It's very attractive for them. Generally, I've noticed people who are trying to use another person don't even tune into the quirks because they're not paying attention to who that person is. They're just paying attention to what they can get from them. So it's a really good indicator of if you're learning how to detect healthy people. Watch people and see how they identify the quirks of the people they're working with. See if they identify it with you. See if you're identifying it in them, to see where you're coming from. Are you coming from getting to know this person, or are you coming from trying to get something from them? Because we all do a little bit of the transactional relationship, and we all do the connection relationship to some degree, right? So existence appreciation is all about who you are. And it's about knowing that you are worth knowing, loving, and keeping for yourself first, so that you can feel your value and live from it. And then our second value is that transactional value, the value of effort. So when we build our lives based on this order, being valuable as a person first, and then being valuable for what we do second, we're able to enter the world in a confident and reliable way that allows us to have happy relationships, that empowers us to have connection with other people and to avoid abusive, narcissistic relationships that would use us and then discard us. So if you're struggling to know why you don't feel good enough, you need to stop and look at how you're valuing yourself, where you're putting your value. Are you putting it in your output, or are you putting it in your existence? And then you need to start working that out. Now, if that's something you want assistance with, reach out. Join my Codependency Confidence. Join my master system in taking back control of your value, owning it, because that's what we do in Codependency Confidence. You can actually learn a lot more about that, along with the discard trauma, which is a major impact on your value, by taking my masterclass that's linked below at masterclass.freetheself.com. Or you can go to workshop2.freetheself.com. Whatever is in the link below. But if you're struggling with this is what you need to look at. You need to look at how you're valuing who you are first. Do you feel shame? Do you feel guilt? Do you feel fear of who you are? Do you feel empty? Do you feel like you don't exist? If you're struggling with those things, Codependency Confidence was designed for you, to help you rediscover you, connect back to that, and actually experience the brilliance of your beingness so that you can thrive. Okay, so guys, let me know what you got out of this. I know it's probably a little combobulated. I'm getting used to these Facebook Lives. I'm trying out some different formats, and my mind's a little scrambled with it. But I appreciate you showing up. Tomorrow we're going to talk more about how we deal with value and what we do with codependency and how we break free of it. And I appreciate you guys. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And if you're ready to break through your codependency, take the masterclass. Click the link below. Find out for yourself how easy it is. And I'm not kidding. Easy to break through. I have clients that have been in therapy for 20 years. And within just a matter of weeks of using the system in Codependency Confidence, they find actual relief from their shame. They find more happiness. They find clarity and breakthroughs. And they start to succeed in their life. And success means they're not coping anymore. They're not dealing or trying to manage all these painful feelings anymore. They're actually doing things they want to do. They're actually out there taking on jobs they want, going and doing things they want. I mean, as simple as going out dancing, or starting a new hobby, or resting, or stop caring about what other people think, and they're actually doing things that matter to them. So, go for it. Appreciate you guys. I'll talk with you tomorrow. You guys have a good night.